Update 2. 3 days before Father's Day. Dad called, "Don't come unless you bring $20,000. I said, "For what?" That set him off again. What they didn't realize was that my neighbor across the hall, a cool older lady who brings me cookies sometimes, had her door cracked open, listening to the whole thing. Dad was screaming so loud the entire floor could hear him. Finally, I told them they needed to leave or I'd call building security. Dad got in my face and said I was nothing without them, that they'd made me everything I was. I laughed and said, "Yeah, that's why I'm still paying off student loans while you're driving the car I helped buy." Mom tried a different approach, saying she was worried about my mental health and maybe I needed therapy. Rich coming from the woman who told me therapy was for weak people when I was struggling with depression in college. I told her I'd been in therapy for 2 years already, working through the damage they caused. That shut them up for a second. Then Dad threatened to tell everyone in the family what an ungrateful son I was. I just shrugged and said, "Already beat you to it." See, after Father's Day, I texted my grandma, 2 uncles, and 3 cousins I'm close with. I didn't send them the full spreadsheet, just explained the situation and that I'd been financially supporting my parents for years while they continued to ask for more. What Dad didn't know is that he's been trash-talking me to the extended family for years, telling everyone I was barely scraping by, couldn't hold a job, always asking them for money. Meanwhile, the reality was the complete opposite. So, when I told them the truth with proof, they were shocked, but not entirely surprised. Dad has a history of exaggerating and lying. After my parents left, Dad kicked my door on the way out. I got a call from my Uncle Steve, Dad's brother. He told me something I never knew. Dad's business has been failing for years. He started it after getting fired from his corporate job, another thing I never knew. And it's been on life support ever since. And guess who's been anonymously keeping it afloat? Me. See, 2 years ago, Mom asked me to help with a special family project. She set up an arrangement where I deposit money monthly into an account for family emergencies. I agreed because despite everything, I didn't want them to lose their house. I thought the money was going toward their mortgage. Nope. According to Uncle Steve, most of that money was keeping Dad's business from collapsing. The business he constantly brags about, the business he uses to shame me about my mediocre career. I immediately called my bank and canceled all recurring transfers to that account. Then I contacted the family attorney who helped me set up my LLC last year and asked what I needed to do to formally document that I would no longer be providing financial support to my family. By Thursday, things escalated again. I was at a coffee shop working when Brooke showed up. How did she know where I was? I check in on Venmo when I pay and we're still connected there. Immediately fixed that. Brooke sat down without asking and started talking in her reasonable business voice about how I was overreacting. She had her own spreadsheet claiming most of the money I documented was actually family investments or loans that were being paid back in non-monetary ways. When I asked for proof, she just waved her hand dismissively. Then she dropped the real reason she was there. Dad's business supplier was demanding payment by the end of the month and they needed $8,000. Without my monthly contributions, they couldn't make it. I told her that wasn't my problem anymore. Brooke's face changed completely. She leaned in and hissed that if Dad's business failed, it would be my fault. That I'd be destroying our family's reputation. That Mom might have a real health crisis from the stress. I just stared at her and said, the same way it was my fault when Dad took my first paychecks. My fault when Mom invested my graduation money. My fault when they demanded $65,000 for the privilege of being their son. She didn't have an answer for that. Just grabbed her designer purse, probably bought with my money, and stormed out.